Okay, so we have finally finished the skull, but it's super important. Holds the brain, uh, holds the sensory organs that are so important to us, as I just discussed. But let's move on to the vertebral column. This is our next big chunk. Okay, so the vertebral column, it contains 26 vertebrae, the 7 cervical vertebrae, C1 through C7, the 12 thoracic vertebrae, T1 through T12, the 5 lumbar vertebrae, L1 to L5, the 1 sacrum, which is S1 through S5 vertebrae fused together, the 1 coccyx, or commonly called the tailbone, coccygeal vertebrae 1 through 5, 3 to 5 vertebrae fused together. The most common number is 4 vertebrae fused together, but there's variation. Can be as low as 3, as high as 5. Vertebrae are different in different regions. They have different structures and functions. There are 7 cervical vertebrae. These are small vertebrae. 12 thoracic vertebrae, all of these join with ribs. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae. These are the biggest vertebrae. There is 1 sacrum. It is part of the pelvis with the 2 hip bones. The 1 coccyx, this has the tiniest vertebrae. The vertebral column protects the spinal cord. It supports the weight of the head, the neck, and the trunk during standing. It transfers their weight to the hip girdle or the hip bones and the lower limbs. It acts as an attachment site for the ribs and the hip bones. It acts as an attachment site for many muscles. So these are the important functions of the vertebral column. Now, a bit on spinal curves. There are 4 spinal curves, the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacral curve. And I will show you on an adult. This is the cervical curve. It curves to the anterior. The thoracic curve, it curves to the posterior. The lumbar curve, it curves to the anterior. The sacral curve, it curves to the posterior. These curves act as shock absorbers and give spring to the spine. Spinal curves balance the head at the top of the vertebral column. Most of the weight of the body actually lies in front of the vertebral column. The spinal curves bring the weight of the body in line with the body axis. Okay, let's talk about vertebrae, the individual bones. A typical vertebra has a vertebral body. Vertebral bodies transfer weight along the vertebral column. They are anterior in the body. Okay, so let's write that. They are interior. Okay, and then a vertebral arch extends posteriorly from the vertebral body. The body and the arch form a ring of bone that surrounds the spinal cord. So here's our body, and then here would be the arch. Okay, the body and the arch. And here's seen from a superior view. Here's the vertebral body, and here's the vertebral arch. And inside there would be a space for the spinal cord. The vertebral arch is composed of a lateral pedicle and a posterior lamina. The pedicle is colored green in this picture, and the lamina is covered purple. Pedicle means a stalk that connects parts of the body to each other, and lamina means a thin, flat plate. I'm just giving you the definitions, but they don't fit exactly here. The lamina of the vertebrae are not thin or flat or particularly plate-like, but that's what they called them. The vertebral foramen is the hole in the vertebrae. Okay? I repeat, the vertebral foramen. Vertebral means in the vertebra. Foramen means hole. Okay? Hole in the vertebra. Okay? Not to be confused with later vocabulary. Vertebrae have spinous processes that project posteriorly and caudally, which is a synonym for inferiorly. The spinous processes can be seen and felt through the skin. So these are the knobs over your vertebral column in your back. And here we have a spinous process colored in orange in the picture on the right. And here we have a spinous process shown. This is a thoracic vertebrae, and the spinous process is shown to project inferiorly or caudally, especially in the thoracic vertebrae. Vertebrae also have transverse processes that project laterally. In the thorax, the transverse processes articulate with the ribs. The spinous and the transverse processes are points of attachment for muscles. So in case you're wondering what the heck are all these processes for, they're points of attachment for muscles. And in the case of the transverse processes, the ribs partly articulate with the body of the vertebrae and partly with the transverse process of the vertebrae. We'll see later when we talk about ribs. The vertebral foramen of vertebrae stack on each other to form a vertebral canal through which the spinal cord passes. The intervertebral foramen are spaces on the sides of the vertebral column formed by two vertebrae. So the kind of arch on the superior vertebrae and the arch on the inferior vertebra form an intervertebral foramen. And it's really hard to see in the picture that I'm showing you where exactly the intervertebral foramen are. This picture with the posterior view actually helps a little bit. They're on the lateral sides of the vertebral column on the right and the left. Okay, they're lateral structures. I'm pointing to one formed by if we number these vertebrae 1, 2, and 3. First, I'm going to point to the intervertebral foramen formed by vertebra 1 and vertebra 2 lies here. And then the intervertebral foramen formed by vertebra 2 and vertebra 3 is found here. Spinal nerves exit the vertebral column through the intervertebral foramen. So that's what they're for. Spinal nerves have to get out of the vertebral column, and that's how they get out. The intervertebral discs are found between the vertebral bodies. The discs have two parts, an outer fibrous cartilage ring, called the annulus fibrosus, and an inner gelatinous core, the nucleus pulposus. The nucleus pulposus is composed of water, collagen fibers, and proteoglycans. So this is more like the formula for extracellular matrix, right? And less like the formula for cartilage, which forms the outer ring of the intervertebral disc. But together, the annulus fibrosus and the nucleus pulposus form the intervertebral disc. The discs cushion the vertebrae, and they give the vertebral column flexibility.